Hi Year 12. This video is going to take you through the discursive component of the assessment task and what is required. So firstly, let's have a look at the question that you're dealing with. Now remember, you've written your information text and you have given us the key idea, and you've discussed how that key idea is represented in both texts. Discursive is different. One of the things, actually, I'll come back to that. First, let's go through the question, and then I'm going to talk to you about the difference between a persuasive essay and a discursive essay, and then look at it in terms of the speech that you have to do. Okay, so firstly, let's have a look at what it is that we have to do. Record either a video or audio of an original discursive piece, no more than 800 words, offering a balanced appreciation of two perspectives of the one key idea you are exploring using evidence from your prescribed text and related text. You must make detailed reference to the representations of the human experience in relation to that idea. So like our information text, there is multiple layers to this question that you have to be exploring. So firstly, let's just break down this part here. Record either a video or an audio. Now, some of you have actually come to me and said you don't know how to do this, and you're not quite sure how to do the video. And remind you that this was a component of your assignment in Term 2. It's what you did in Term 2 for your multimodal task. It's the same kind of process. What technology you use, what software you use is up to you. We don't obviously want you spending money. We want you using what you've already got. You could arguably just use the recording voice function on your mobile phone and just speak into it and record. You could do, as I'm doing right now, and use Screencast-O-Matic, which is free. And I'm just speaking into my laptop's microphone at the moment. You'll hear the sound is a bit crackly because my mic's not working that well. Or I could just plug a mic in and it would be a better sound. Otherwise, you, through your department account, your Department of Education account, you have free access to Adobe Spark and Adobe Premiere Elements. Adobe Spark is very easy to use. When I myself learned how to use it to teach my extension students how to use it, and in teaching myself how to use it and making a video for them to see, it took me less than 30 minutes from literally downloading it to learning it to creating a video and giving the video back to them. It's very easy to use. And that way you can also incorporate visuals. It doesn't have to be your video of you. It can be images that support what you're saying. The other thing that you could use is Adobe Premiere Elements. You also have that for free. That's a movie making software. If you have a Mac, you can use iMovie. It is up to you. It says either a video or audio. Note the or. You don't have to do the video. You can just do the audio. It is your choice. Okay, the other thing that you have to understand is because you are recording audio, it is a speech. Okay, and that straight away changes your approach to what you're doing. We're going to go into that a bit more, but first let's understand what is discursive. Okay, when we start looking at discursive, this here is the NESA definition of discursive writing. Text whose primary focus is to explore an idea or variety of topics. These texts involve the discussion of an idea or opinion without the direct intention of persuading the reader, listener or viewer to adopt any single point of view. Discursive text can be humorous or serious in tone and can have a formal or informal register. So our question is, what does all of that mean? What do you have to do? So when we're looking at this definition, we have to look at what is going on here. Now, it's really important to note this word here, explore. It's an exploration. It's moving around an idea and looking at it from different angles and just seeing what's there. In a way, you're taking us through a journey as you you make discoveries about the key idea, you take us down that discovery about the key idea, and you challenge us as the reader to think about those things as well. So it involves a discussion of the idea of or the opinion. So in this case for our assignments, the idea. I know some of you have been talking about the positives and negatives, and yes, you can put the positives and negatives, and you can put the comparisons and the contrast, but what you have to remember is it's not an argument. So you can't be arguing two different sides, but you can definitely take us around the different ways of looking at the text. This is the other big thing. You don't have the intention to persuade the reader. So you don't want to be using high modality words. You don't want to be putting forward two sides and then trying to convince the reader of which side is correct. Or the listener in our case, because you're doing the speech. Now, this is important here too. Discursive text can be humorous or serious in tone and can have a formal or informal register. Now, what you do there is going to depend on your purpose and audience. And in the previous videos, we talked about purpose and audience. What is the purpose of the text? The purpose in this case is to explore and to reveal the idea. And who is the audience? Again, this is part of the sway that information text is on, so it's the same audience. It's an academic audience, an educated audience, people who like to engage with complex ideas. So you have to ask yourself, what register is the appropriate one? Should it be formal or informal, or should you have a blend and have it maybe semi-formal? So formal in most parts, but perhaps a few colloquialisms in there if they suit. One of the big things about this one, about discursive, is your voice. It's like a conversation. Discursive is like a conversation. And when I'm talking about your voice, I'm not talking about the sound of your voice when you're actually recording the audio, although that is part of it. I'm actually talking about the voice that comes through the writing itself. So we've talked about this when we've done creative writing, when we're trying to create voices for our character. It's that kind of voice. It's also about your style, your unique writing style that comes out in discursive. Now, I know there's a few of you who have been asking for scaffolds for this, and the reality is we can't give you one because there isn't one. The whole point of discursive writing is not to have scaffolded writing. It is different to the persuasive essay. The persuasive essay is heavily scaffolded, has a very tight structure, has that introduction and those tightly controlled body paragraphs with linking words and topic sentences and evaluation sentences and strict T sentences, and a conclusion that persuades. This isn't that. This does have paragraphs, but the topic sentence is not as strict. The length of the paragraph, the movement between paragraphs, that all changes, and it's all about your personal style, and the writing needs to reflect the purpose and the audience. So that's the really big thing you've got to get your head around for this particular type of writing. And you do need to get your head around it because it could be in the HSC, the same as the information text could be in the HSC. We don't know what module it will be in. It's not something that you can pre-prepare. It's about you engaging with the idea. Now, other things that you need to know about the discursive is it is about exploring an idea. It's not about persuading, and it's definitely not about a single point of view. So there's different ways into this question. You could talk about characters' perspectives. You could talk about the composer's perspectives. Now, for those of you in advanced English, you need to be getting to that level of the composer's perspective, because that is what is expected of advanced students, and that's for those of you in standard and studies. If you want to access those higher marks, you too also have to be getting to that composer's perspective. It's light in tone. It can be a bit idiosyncratic. It The register is up to you. Now, I know here it says it can be humorous or it can be serious. Again, you've got to decide what's appropriate for purpose and audience. Now, Past the Shallows and 1984 are not exactly humorous texts. They're not dealing with the human experience in a light-hearted way. So you would have to question whether a humorous tone in your discursive is appropriate for the purpose and audience in this particular assessment. What you're doing is you're looking at multiple perspectives, and for this question, you've been told to look at two perspectives of the idea. And notice here as well, it says a balanced appreciation. Miss Apolloni describes it quite well to her class, where she said it's about sitting on a fence. You're just balancing on a fence and looking at what's on either side of the fence. You're not leaning over to one side or falling over to one side or stepping into one side. You're staying on that fence and you just balance there. And you're looking at those perspectives from either side. One of the things that it does is it might actually take an obvious perspective and then problematize it. It may come to a new stance from the decided, the known, the familiar, from different angles or perspectives. And what you really want to get to the point is where you want to be inviting the reader to reconsider what they think. Now, I know those students who are in my class or in Miss Gur's class, you've heard Miss Gur and I talk regularly because we are often together in the classroom, and we talk about the text and we put forward ideas that leads the other to reconsider the idea. Now, some of you in class did it yourself just last week when you raised an issue about the appendix of 1984, which made us reconsider the idea. You didn't tell us that, oh, this is what the appendix is about. You said, this is something that I've read, and you asked a question, and that made us ask questions, and then we went off and did research, and then we went and spoke to more people, and it then led to further discussion. We haven't come to a conclusion yet. We all just keep talking about it. That's discursive writing, that openness to challenge and to question and to just wonder and ponder on things and to invite your listener or your reader to reconsider what they might have known without telling them what it is that they have to think. It's meandering in style. It's often been referred to as a rambling because it's moving around the idea itself. It's not that rigid format that you get in a persuasive essay. So remember that this is a speech, and because it's discursive, I would suggest that you probably should be starting with a question. What is it that you're questioning about the key idea, and open it up to exploration. It doesn't start with a definite thesis. It's different to a persuasive essay. It doesn't develop a single line of argument either. It is looking at it from both sides, and it's not making an argument at all. It's going to examine the human experience and the key idea, and again, it's going to do these things that are in green here that we talked about in the other podcast, and we'll get back into that again in a little bit, but it is not going to try and convince the reader of one particular way of looking at it. It will also have your personal opinion in there as well. Now, you do need evidence. Don't think that you don't need evidence. You do. It says so here, you must make detailed reference to the representations of the human experience in relation to the idea. But what you have to understand is in this particular one, you are talking about the idea. And then you're talking about how the idea is represented in your text. You don't need as much evidence in this one as you do in the informative. It's a different way of writing about evidence. Now, this is about to run out, so I'm going to stop this and save this, and I'm going to continue this on another video.